Today I'm going to be sharing an intuitive message that I received this morning, and I feel like if you are drawn to this video, then this message is probably for you. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you for listening to that intuition that led you to this. I received this message that was reminding me of the fact that we are sovereign. So in this world right now, there are systems that are in place. And these systems seem to have all the power, and sometimes you can end up feeling very helpless or hopeless because it just feels like these huge systems and institutions are the ones that are making so many decisions that impact, that trickle down all the way through into our lives. And when we start to feel empty, powerless, hopeless, it can get us into a very negative space. And that is what this message I was given by God is supposed to be addressing. So here is the reality. Everything in this universe is vibrational. Every single thing has vibration. And within the spectrum of vibration, there are very dense, very heavy energies, and they are very light and very, I would say, subtle energy. And we may not always know it, but we always have a choice as to what we are tuning into. In the same way that when you tune a radio, it picks up on a particular frequency and you're able to listen to whatever message, whatever communication is coming from the frequency that you're tuned into. That is the very same way that this universe works. So if you are going to tune into the frequency of fear, the frequency of hopelessness, the frequency of powerlessness, then this is what you're going to feel. This is what your thoughts are going to be about. This is what beliefs are going to form in you, because that's the frequency that you're tuned into. All of us are creators. Each and every one of us has the power to create. And these systems that have been built, these institutions that have existed for centuries, often, unfortunately, in this reality, so many of them are built on fear. So many of them are built on subjugating a group of people so that they can maintain their power. That's just the reality of how many of these systems have existed. But if you've been noticing, humanity goes through so many eras, so many changes, there are so many different cycles that we go through. We entered a very different cycle. We've been entering different cycles for the past few decades. And there's something that's happening, there's a shift that's happening. And what is going on in even technology has been a catalyst for this, is that there's an awakening that's happening. People are starting to really understand that the systems that are in place have really been harmful for us. And we are all feeling inside us that there needs to be a difference, that things have to change, that these things are actually supposed to be working for us, not against us, that they're not supposed to be built on the backs of people, they're supposed to be lifting people up. And so within this shift, there's probably, anytime there's a change happening in the universe, there tends to be chaos, because you're moving from one state of being into another. And to do that, so many things have to break down so that other things can be built up. So in this state of chaos where things are falling apart so that things can be built up, if you are tuned into fear, then what you're doing is actually strengthening these systems that we are trying to eradicate. And that's why it is so important to remember that each of us has free will. And you have the power. You may not feel like it all the time. You may not even feel like it a lot of the time. But you have the power to choose what you're tuning into. You are a sovereign being. Even in the Bible, it says, ye are gods. And also in the Bible, it says that God has given us has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And when you really start to think about that, that means that there's a different state of being, or a different state of mind, a different kind of mentality that is always available to you. Think again about the radio. There are so many frequencies that are available. If you think about how a radio works, right? There are so many stations, and all these stations, these radio stations, these radio frequencies exist simultaneously at the same time always. They are just existing, but it takes you having to tune into the particular stations to be able to listen to the communication of those stations. So in that same way, you also have to be the one to decide, to stand in your power, to remember who you are, to remember that as much as there might be things that feel so overwhelming and so depressing that are happening in the world, there's an entire spectrum of vibration that is available to you. There's an entire spectrum of frequencies that are available to you. You get to decide what you're going to tune into. What are you going to use your free will for? And let's also remember that we cannot change a system with the energy that was used to create it. And unfortunately, a lot of these systems, they feed off of our fear. They feed off of our hopelessness, our helplessness, because when you're so distracted by all these things that are happening, you're not in your power. You're not choosing. You're not choosing. You're not making the choice. You're waking up and entering the vibration that is, you're just like tuning to that radio station constantly every day, as it's feeding you fear, as it's feeding you frustration, as it's feeding you anger. It's keeping you tied in. You're emotionally entangled with this energy to the point where you're not even able to see a different frequency, yet all these other frequencies exist. All of them exist. But because you're tuned into that one radio station, you cannot feel the entire spectrum of everything that's available to you. You're not able to see how much you can be grateful for. You're not able to see how powerful you are. You're not able to see the impact that you can actually make with or without the frequency of that station. And so you have to be the one to make the decision every single day that I am going to stand in my own power and my own sovereignty as a child of God, as a child of this universe who has the free will that has been given to me, who has been given a choice. And sometimes it can feel like we don't have a choice, but we do. So it has to be up to you to decide today, what am I going to tune into? What am I going to choose to be? So that's the message that I had today. Please remember, above everybody else, you deserve your own unconditional love and acceptance. I will see you soon.